I think in sports, patience, patience, patience. Just when you ran out of patience, more patience, especially with a talent like Cam. And I know there'll be a tendency now to think, oh, it's not one thing, it's another. Andrew Luck just retired. Cam came in the year before, and how much? But I think Cam can come back from this if people are patient. And who's to say he can't be productive going forward? But you, even with that point of view, which I have, you have to acknowledge there's a good chance that he may just, with all the hits he's taken over the years, never be the same, where these kind of injuries will continue to mount, even when he gets healthy. At any rate, what is clear is you need a succession plan. You need a guy to take over. Look, it's one thing to have a backup quarterback, like I think the Saints do. I'm not as like Chicken Little about the Saints as a lot of other people are, because I think Teddy Bridgewater is a solid quarterback. He can go 500 in Drew Brees' absence. But there's a difference between that, a stopgap quarterback who can hold it down, and a successor. And the thing about Cam is, since he can, he may have years ahead of him, the Panthers can take chances in the draft, don't have to spend a first-round pick, on quarterbacks they think have a chance with high upside and start looking to develop someone. Look at what just happened to the Colts with Andrew Luck. They had made the trade for Brissett, and right now they're sitting at 1-1. Close loss to a good team in the Chargers, whatever, at least on paper. Week 1, good win against the Titans, who look pretty good this year so far. Week 2, they're still in it because they had a succession plan in place in the event that Andrew Luck, who's a lot like Cam in a lot of ways, and then Luck retired. And look, they have a guy now, maybe. The Panthers would be well served to do the same thing.
I don't want to hear that from you, not from you. The season just started 2 weeks ago, and prior to that, you were raving about how Cam Newton was going to be an MVP candidate. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is you. It's you, Max. It wasn't Marcus, wasn't Damian, wasn't Ryan Clark, wasn't Roz, wasn't Molly, wasn't me. Wasn't me. Hell, you. You were the one that's saying that. And 2 weeks later, here you go with this. Oh, stop it. Here's the reality of the situation. I have repeatedly said that Cam Newton's shoulder, his accuracy was always a problem with me even before the shoulder injury. And even I'm not sitting there saying, you know what, throw him out with the bathwater, get your succession plan going. You know why? Because it's a foot sprain. Can't help that. You got to remember something. He had arthroscopic surgery on his shoulder. He barely practiced with the team. He didn't practice till July. And he was only throwing short intermediate passes to stationary targets. There was no chemistry developed with the receivers. Then he had days off. Then he had a foot sprain. That caused him to miss like an additional 10 practices, for crying out loud. He tried to play through it. Now, if he had a shoulder injury and you know what, his arm is clearly compromised and there's no upside and stuff like that, I get all of that. But the last time we saw this brother healthy with Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator, he had the greatest completion percentage of his career at over 67%. Over the last 4, as awful as he may have been, these 2 games, and the last 2 games he played in the last regular season, where he hasn't scored a touchdown, rushing or passing, and this is a guy that never goes back-to-back games without scoring, rushing, or passing the football. It's 4 games.
Stephen
and if
A,
it's 4 games,
look, I agree with you about that
healthy,
stuff.
And Norv Turner is still there, excuse me,
yes,
I'm of the mindset, let the brother sit, let him get some rest. He'll be all right.
I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry, Marcus. Just real quick. Yes, I know when healthy, Cam, I think, is even on an upwards trajectory. But think of the punishment he's taken over his career. Yeah, Look at what just happened to Andrew Luck.
You knew that. You knew that 3 weeks ago.
So what this latest injury says, it's like read the writing on the wall. You better have a young guy getting, ready.
But we watching it happen.
Marcus Spears could have stepped on his damn foot, Max. It's a foot sprain.
I got you. I understand, Stephen A. Again, I don't know what happened to me and Max Kellerman, but we are loving each other today. You have to have a succession plan, Stephen A. It's not about whether Cam gets thrown out to the Wolves. It's not whether you don't think he's the guy going forward. But the probability of him getting injured and you losing your season because you don't have a guy that can come in behind him is a real thing with the Carolina Panthers. I want Cam to have as much success as possible, personally, because the way Cam has played has always been something people tried to put out in the back and say you can't win that way. So I'm not, this is not me speaking of the fact that Cam, but got to be honest, Cam hadn't played well.
Marcus.
Cam hadn't played well, Stephen A. We talk about the completion percentage. It was 5-yard checks downs to Christian McCaffrey. Like that is like I'm gonna be real with every quarterback. When Eli Manning sucked, he sucked, and they needed to move on. That's why I'm glad Daniel Jones is getting this shot. Cam doesn't suck quite yet, but Cam is injury prone. Number one, and I don't for you to miss games,
a million shots already.
And number two,
hold on, Max.
And number two,
Marcus,
everybody talks about the completion percentage. Go ahead.
I got it. But for the purposes of this discussion, here's where, let me teach you something about First Take, because this is what I need you to know. If I asked you before the season, you would have said the same thing that you're saying now. I have no problem with your issue. I'm saying Max changed from 3 weeks ago.
Wrong.
The man had a foot 3 weeks ago. Max was talking different. You didn't call him an MVP candidate.
That's
you
not what I'm saying.
You didn't sit up there and say that Cam Newton was going to be an MVP candidate. You didn't say that.
Listen carefully, okay?
He did.
I'm going to bring out sock puppets to make my point, to make this clear for you. Cam can still win an MVP going forward, but given the number of shots he's taken over his career, given the fact that one day it's the shoulder, the next day it's the foot, you got to read the writing on the wall and have a backup plan.
You didn't know that 3 weeks ago? That's my point.
We're
you
not
knew this
saying
3 weeks
replace,
ago. 3 weeks ago, you said he was an MVP candidate.
Right. We're not, but you can't have a succession plan for an MVP candidate? By the way, the Patriots did. The Patriots did. They had to go. Tom Brady had to go to the owner to get the succession plan out of town. The Patriots had a succession plan.
That's fair. Hold on. That's your best argument. Porn star Jimmy was a succession plan.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.